The inheritance. Dr. Ilara Vance stood before the holographic display, her dark eyes scanning the rotating image of planet X-273. The swirling mass of toxic gases and jagged, lifeless terrain seemed to mock her very presence. This was her inheritance, a final gift, or perhaps a final jest, from her estranged mentor, Dr. Arcturus Kane. "You've got to be kidding me," Ilara muttered, running a hand through her short, silver-streaked hair. 20 years of radio silence, and this is what you leave me, old man." The lawyer, a thin man with a cybernetic eye, cleared his throat. Dr. Kane was quite specific in his will. "Dr. Vance, Planet X-273, along with all research data and equipment related to it, now belongs to you." Ilara turned away from the hologram, pacing the length of the station's observation deck. The vastness of space stretched out before her, stars twinkling against the void. Somewhere out there, beyond the range of human-occupied space, lay X-273, a cosmic wasteland that defied all attempts at colonization or resource extraction. "What am I supposed to do with a planet that can melt through a starship's hull?" Ilara asked, more to herself than to the lawyer. The man shrugged, clearly out of his depth when it came to matters of astrophysics and planetary science. "Dr. Kane seemed to believe you would know what to do with it, Dr. Vance. He left this for you as well." He produced a small metallic cube from his pocket. Ilara took the cube, turning it over in her hands. It was a data storage device, ancient by current standards but built to last. She recognized Kane's handiwork in its construction. With a sigh, she inserted it into her wrist computer. A holographic message sprang to life, and Ilara found herself face to face with Arcturus Kane for the first time in 2 decades. The old scientist looked weathered, his once fierce eyes now tired but still burning with an inner fire. "Ilara, my girl," Kane's gravelly voice filled the room. "If you're seeing this, then I've finally managed to do the one thing I've been avoiding all these years: die." He chuckled, a sound that brought a flood of memories rushing back to Ilara. "I know we didn't part on the best of terms. You thought I was chasing ghosts and wasting my potential. Maybe you were right. But I've discovered something that could change everything we know about terraforming, about life itself." Kane's image leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "X-273 isn't just a dead rock, Ilara. It's alive. Or rather, it has the potential for life unlike anything we've ever seen. The toxins, the radiation, the extreme conditions, they're not obstacles. They're the key." Ilara's mind raced, trying to process what she was hearing. Kane had always been brilliant, but this sounded like the ravings of a madman. "I don't have much time left," Kane continued. "My body's failing me, and there are others who would exploit this discovery if they knew. That's why I'm leaving it all to you, Ilara. You're the only one I trust with this, the only one with the vision and the guts to see it through." The hologram flickered, Kane's image wavering. "Everything you need is in the databanks. My research, my theories, everything. But be careful, Ilara. There are forces out there who would stop at nothing to control what X-273 could become. Trust no one." Kane's image smiled, a genuine expression that Ilara hadn't seen in years. "Show them what humanity is capable of, my girl. Show them that we can create wonders even in the harshest conditions. I believe in you." The message ended, leaving Ilara in stunned silence. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably, clearly sensing that he had just witnessed something beyond his understanding. "Dr. Vance," he ventured after a moment, "do you need anything else?" Ilara turned to him, her mind already racing with possibilities. "Yes," she said, a determined glint in her eye. "I need transport to X-273, and I need it yesterday." The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Ilara pored over Kane's research, each revelation more astounding than the last. The old man had been right. X-273 wasn't just a dead world. It was a chrysalis, waiting for the right catalyst to transform it into something extraordinary. As her ship approached the planet, Ilara stood at the viewport, watching the toxic swirls of X-273's atmosphere grow larger. Most would see a death trap, a cosmic joke of a world, but Ilara saw potential, a canvas upon which humanity could paint its greatest masterpiece yet. "All right, old man," she whispered, a smile tugging at her lips. "Let's see what you've really left me." The ship's computer chimed, warning of the dangerous approach. Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges ahead. She knew that transforming X-273 would be the greatest undertaking of her life, possibly the greatest undertaking in human history. But as the ship began its descent into the swirling maelstrom of the planet's atmosphere, Ilara felt a surge of excitement. This was what she had trained for all her life, what she had argued with Cain about all those years ago. The chance to push the boundaries of science, to prove that humanity could thrive even in the most hostile environments. X-273 may have been the universe's worst planet, but Ilara Vance was about to show the cosmos what humans could do. The transformation had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The challenge accepted. The observation dome of Research Station Alpha creaked ominously as another acid storm lashed its reinforced walls. Dr. Ilara Vance barely noticed, her attention fixed on the holographic display before her. It had been 6 months since she'd inherited X-273, and progress was challenging. "Run the simulation again," Ilara commanded, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. The AI complied, and once more she watched as the virtual representation of their latest terraforming attempt crumbled under X-273's relentless assault. Behind her, Dr. Jen Liu, the team's atmospheric specialist, sighed. "Maybe we should take a break, Ilara. We've been at this for 18 hours straight." Ilara shook her head, silver-streaked hair catching the dim light. "We're missing something, Jen. Cain's data suggests there's a way to use the planet's toxins as a catalyst for transformation. We just need to find the right approach." As if in response to her determination, the station shuddered again. Alarms blared, and red warning lights bathed the room in an eerie glow. "Containment breach in Lab 3. The AI's calm voice contrasted sharply with the urgency of the situation. "Toxic atmosphere entering the facility. All personnel evacuate immediately." Ilara was already moving, Jen close behind her. They sprinted through corridors, passing other team members rushing towards the escape pods. But Ilara turned left instead of right at a junction. "Lab 3 is this way," Jen shouted over the alarms. "Exactly," Ilara called back. "If we lose those samples, we lose months of work." They reached the lab's sealed doors, the acrid smell of X-273's atmosphere already seeping through. Ilara punched in her override code, and the doors hissed open. Inside, caustic gases swirled, eating away at equipment and melting through containment units. Ilara and Jen donned emergency rebreathers, their skin prickling from exposure. They worked quickly, securing what samples they could and initiating the lab's purge sequence. As the doors sealed behind them and decontamination began, Ilara clutched a canister of X-273's atmosphere, her mind racing. "You know," Jen said, removing his rebreather, "most people run away from the deadly, planet-killing substances." Ilara managed a tired smile. "Most people aren't trying to tame the universe's worst planet." She held up the canister. "Besides, I think I just had an idea." The next week was a flurry of activity. Ilara's hunch led to a breakthrough in how they approached X-273's atmosphere. Instead of fighting against it, they began to work with it, using its corrosive properties to break down introduced elements in precisely controlled ways. "It's like a planetary-scale catalytic converter," Ilara explained to her team, excitement shining in her eyes. "We introduce specific compounds, the atmosphere reacts, and we guide the process to gradually shift the chemical balance." The simulations were promising, showing a slow but steady transformation of X-273's toxic soup into something more benign. It wasn't a complete solution, but it was a start, a foothold in the seemingly impossible task before them. As word of their progress spread, so did interest, and not all of it welcome. Ilara was in the middle of calibrating a new atmospheric probe when her comm unit chimed with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared on the screen made her blood run cold. "Dr. Vance," the man said, his voice smooth as oil and just as slick. "I don't believe we've had the pleasure. I'm Darius Vex, CEO of Nebula Explorations." Ilara's eyes narrowed. Nebula Explorations was one of the largest and most ruthless corporations in colonized space, known for strip mining planets and leaving environmental disasters in their wake. "What can I do for you, Mr. Vex?" Ilara asked, keeping her tone neutral. Vex smiled, all teeth and no warmth. "I'll cut to the chase, Doctor. Your work on X-273 has caught our attention. Nebula Explorations would like to offer our assistance in your terraforming efforts." "That's very kind," Ilara replied, "but we have all the resources we need." Vex's smile didn't waver, but his eyes hardened. "I don't think you understand the opportunity here, Dr. Vance. With our backing, you could have unlimited funding, the best equipment, and Nebula Explorations would have control over X-273. Ilara finished for him. "I'm afraid I'll have to decline, Mr. Vex. This project is too important to be compromised by corporate interests." The facade of friendliness dropped from Vex's face. "You're making a mistake, Doctor. X-273 is too valuable to be left in the hands of idealistic scientists. One way or another, Nebula Explorations will be involved in its development." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Ilara with a knot of worry in her stomach. She knew Vex's type. They didn't take no for an answer, and they had the resources to make life very difficult for those who stood in their way. She called an emergency meeting with her core team. Jen, the atmospheric specialist, Dr. Kira Nomura, their geologist, and Marcus Webb, head of security. As they gathered in the station's conference room, Ilara laid out the situation. "We always knew there would be outside interest," Marcus said, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned the room. "But Nebula Explorations, they play dirty, Doc." Kira nodded in agreement. "I've seen what they did to Epsilon Prime. It used to be a garden world. Now it's a hollowed-out husk." "So what do we do?" Jen asked, looking to Ilara. Ilara stood, pacing the length of the room. "We continue our work," she said firmly, "but we need to be prepared. Marcus, I want security protocols tightened. No unauthorized communication in or out. Kira, Jen, we need to accelerate our timeline. If Vex is making moves, we need results to show the scientific community the importance of what we're doing here." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Ilara found herself once again staring at the swirling mass of X-273 through the observation dome. The planet that had once seemed like a curse now represented hope. Hope for scientific advancement, for pushing the boundaries of what was possible. But it also represented danger. Ilara knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, not just from the hostile environment of X-273, but from those who would seek to exploit it for their own gain. "What have you gotten me into, old man?" Ilara murmured, thinking of Cain. But even as she spoke, a smile tugged at her lips. This was the kind of challenge she lived for, the opportunity to prove that humanity's ingenuity and determination could overcome any obstacle. As another acid storm rolled across the planet's surface, Ilara squared her shoulders. X-273 had been called the universe's worst planet, a cosmic write-off. But she and her team were going to prove everyone wrong. They were going to turn this toxic wasteland into a wonder, a testament to human perseverance and scientific vision. The real work was just beginning, and Ilara Vance was ready for whatever the universe, or Darius Vex, might throw at her. Rising from the ashes, The ground trembled beneath Dr. Ilara Vance's feet as she stood on the surface of X-273, protected only by her advanced environmental suit. A year had passed since her confrontation with Darius Vex, and the planet was beginning to change. Where once there was only barren rock and pools of corrosive liquid, now patches of hardy, alien vegetation were taking root. The sky, still swirling with toxic clouds, had taken on a slightly less menacing hue. It wasn't paradise, not by a long shot, but it was progress. Atmospheric composition holding steady at 15% oxygen, 10% nitrogen. Jen's voice crackled through her comm. It's not breathable yet, but we're getting there. Ilara smiled behind her helmet's faceplate. Good work, Jen. Let's head back to base end. Her words were cut off by a sudden tremor, more violent than the usual seismic activity they'd grown accustomed to. In the distance, a massive fissure opened in the planet's surface, spewing forth a geyser of molten rock and gas. Ilara, Kira's urgent voice came through the comm. We've got a problem. That eruption is releasing compounds we hadn't accounted for. It's destabilizing the atmosphere. Everyone back to the station, now. Ilara ordered, already sprinting towards their transport. As they raced across the alien landscape, she could see the sky darkening, the delicate balance they'd worked so hard to achieve threatening to unravel. Back in the relative safety of Research Station Alpha, the team worked feverishly to counteract the effects of the unexpected eruption. Hours stretched into days as they fought to save months of progress from being undone in a matter of moments. On the third day, as Ilara pored over data readouts, a flashing alert caught her attention. What the, she muttered, enhancing the image. There, in the midst of the chaos their sensors were detecting, was an anomaly, a pattern that shouldn't exist in nature. Jen, Kira, you need to see this, she called out. As her colleagues gathered around, Ilara pointed to the screen. Look at this energy signature. It's not random. It's structured. Kira's eyes widened. That's impossible. Unless it's artificial, Ilara finished. The implications were staggering. If there was an artificial structure beneath X-273's surface, it could change everything they thought they knew about the planet, and potentially the universe. As if the universe itself was responding to their discovery, a new alert blared through the station. Marcus burst into the room, his cybernetic eye glowing urgently. We've got incoming. Unidentified ship just dropped out of FTL in high orbit. Ilara's heart raced. Had Nebula Explorations finally made their move? But as they watched the long-range sensors, the ship's behavior was odd. It wasn't approaching aggressively. Instead, it seemed to be scanning the planet, focusing on the area of the recent eruption. They're hailing us, Marcus reported, surprise evident in his voice. Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, and Ilara found herself face to face with a being she had never seen before. It was vaguely humanoid, but with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors and large, multifaceted eyes that reminded her of an insect's. Greetings, beings of Earth, the creature spoke, its voice a melodious trill that somehow translated perfectly. I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Luminary Collective. We have been observing your efforts on this world with great interest. Ilara exchanged stunned glances with her team before addressing the alien. Ambassador, I'm Dr. Ilara Vance. We weren't aware anyone was watching us. Zixtal's skin rippled in what might have been amusement. Your species has a remarkable talent for achieving the impossible, Dr. Vance. Your work here has not gone unnoticed. As the conversation unfolded, an incredible story emerged. The Luminary, a highly advanced species, had seeded X-273 with the building blocks of life eons ago, using the harsh conditions as a crucible for evolution. But a cosmic disaster had altered the planet's course, making it too hostile even for their experiment. They had abandoned it, believing the project a failure. And now, Zixtal trilled, you humans have accomplished what we thought impossible. You've reawakened the potential we left dormant." The revelation was mind-boggling, but it also presented an opportunity. The luminary offered to share their knowledge, to help guide the transformation of X-273 into something truly extraordinary. In return, they asked only to be allowed to study the process and the unique forms of life that might emerge. As Ilara and her team debated the offer, weighing the potential benefits against the risks of involving an unknown alien species, another alert sounded. Marcus's face went pale as he checked the readings. "Multiple ships just dropped out of FTL," he reported grimly. "It's Nebula Explorations. They'd brought a small fleet." Ilara's mind raced. They were caught between two vastly superior forces, the unknown potential of the luminary and the very real threat of Nebula Explorations. Whatever choice they made would shape not just the future of X-273, but potentially the course of human history. "Ambassador Zixtal," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the tension coursing through her. "We find ourselves in a difficult position. There are others of our kind who seek to exploit this world for their own gain. If your offer of assistance is genuine, we could use your help." The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with an inner light. "Dr. Vance, the Luminary Collective does not interfere in the internal conflicts of other species. However," Zixtal paused, its skin shifting to a deep, thoughtful blue, "we can offer you the means to protect what you have built here." As Nebula Exploration ships drew closer, Ilara made her decision. "We accept your offer, Ambassador. Let's show Mr. Vex and his corporate raiders what happens when humanity and the Luminary work together." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. As Nebula's ships entered X-273's orbit, Ilara and her team worked feverishly to integrate luminary technology with their own systems. The alien devices were beyond anything they had ever seen, manipulating energy and matter in ways that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Just as Darius Vex's smug face appeared on their comm screen, demanding their immediate surrender, Ilara gave the signal. A pulse of energy rippled out from Research Station Alpha, enveloping the planet in a shimmering field. Vex's triumphant expression turned to shock as his ship's weapons dissipated harmlessly against the barrier. "What have you done, Vance?" he snarled. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "We've made some new friends, Mr. Vex. I suggest you leave before we decide to test some of their more aggressive technologies." As Nebula's ships reluctantly retreated, Ilara turned to her team and their new alien allies. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges they could scarcely imagine. But they had done the impossible. They had not only begun to transform the universe's worst planet, but had also made first contact with an advanced alien species. X-273 was no longer just a scientific curiosity or a corporate prize. It had become a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it reached for the stars with open minds and determined hearts. As Ilara looked out at the slowly transforming landscape, she knew that their greatest adventures were just beginning. The cosmic wasteland was giving way to a galactic wonder, and humanity was at the forefront of it all. The Crucible. The once desolate surface of X-273 now teemed with alien life, a testament to the combined efforts of humanity and the Luminary Collective. 2 years had passed since their unlikely alliance began, and the planet was transforming at an astonishing rate. Dr. Ilara Vance stood at the edge of a newly formed forest, marveling at the iridescent leaves that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Zixtal's melodious voice came from beside her. The Luminary Ambassador had become a constant presence on X-273, as fascinated by the planet's rebirth as the humans were. Ilara nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon where more terraforming stations were visible. "It's more than I ever dreamed possible." But her words were cut short by a violent tremor that shook the ground beneath their feet. In the distance, a massive geyser of green, glowing liquid erupted from the planet's surface, shooting hundreds of meters into the air. "What the hell?" Ilara gasped, instinctively reaching for her environment suit's controls. But the suit's alarms remained silent. The eruption, as spectacular as it was, didn't seem to be toxic. Zixtal's multifaceted eyes widened, its skin shifting to a pale, shocked hue. Impossible. The Crucible. Its awakening. Before Ilara could ask what the alien meant, her comm unit crackled to life. Dr. Vance. It was Kira, her voice tight with urgency. We're detecting massive energy spikes all over the planet. It's like the whole world is waking up. As Ilara and Zixtal raced back to Research Station Alpha, the situation rapidly deteriorated. The planet seemed to be tearing itself apart, with new landmasses rising from the seas and mountains crumbling into valleys. The carefully balanced ecosystem they had nurtured over the past years was being reshaped in a matter of hours. In the station's control room, chaos reigned. Screens flashed with urgent alerts, and the team scrambled to make sense of the flood of data pouring in. The luminary seed, Zixtal explained, its voice filled with awe and trepidation. When we first came to this world eons ago, we planted a core of hyper-advanced technology deep within the planet. It was meant to guide the world's evolution, but we thought it had been destroyed in the cosmic disaster that made X-273 uninhabitable. Ilara's mind raced, and now our terraforming efforts have reactivated it. Zixtal's skin rippled in affirmation. The Crucible is reshaping the planet according to its original programming, but it's conflicting with the changes we've made. If we don't find a way to stabilize it, X-273 could tear itself apart. The next few days were a blur of frantic activity. Ilara and her team worked around the clock, combining their knowledge of X-273's unique properties with luminary technology to try and contain the Crucible's power. But for every problem they solved, two more seemed to arise. Tensions ran high as exhaustion set in. Jen and Kira got into a heated argument over resource allocation, while Marcus grew increasingly paranoid, convinced that the luminary had planned this all along. Ilara felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her like never before. She had led her team through countless challenges, but this felt like it could break them. As she stared at the holographic display of X-273's rapidly changing surface, doubt began to creep in. Had she pushed too far? Had her ambition to transform the universe's worst planet doomed it instead? It was in this moment of crisis that an unexpected message came through. The face that appeared on the screen was one Ilara hadn't seen in years, one she had hoped never to see again. Darius Vex. Dr. Vance, Vex said, his tone uncharacteristically subdued. I'll skip the pleasantries. We've been monitoring the situation on X-273, and we want to help. Ilara's eyes narrowed. Help. The last time you offered help, you brought a fleet to take the planet by force. Vex had the grace to look uncomfortable. Things have changed, Doctor. What's happening on X-273 isn't just a threat to your project. It's a threat to the entire sector. If that planet explodes, the devastation could affect dozens of inhabited worlds. As much as Ilara hated to admit it, Vex was right. The energy readings from the Crucible were off the charts. If they couldn't contain it, the consequences would be catastrophic. What exactly are you offering? Ilara asked cautiously. Resources, ships, the best minds Nebula Explorations has to offer. Vex leaned forward, his eyes intense. I'm not asking for control, Dr. Vance. I'm asking for a chance to be on the right side of history for once. It was a devil's bargain, and Ilara knew it. But as another tremor shook the station, she realized they were out of options. Fine, she said. But I'm in charge, and if I get even a hint that you're trying to take advantage of the situation, I'll personally throw you into one of X-273's new volcanoes. Vex's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Understood, Doctor. We'll be there in 12 hours. As the transmission ended, Ilara turned to find her team and Zixtal staring at her in disbelief. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned her face. Ilara took a deep breath. No, but we're out of options. If we're going to save X-273, and potentially a good chunk of the galaxy, we need all the help we can get. The arrival of Nebula exploration ships marked the beginning of the most intense phase of the crisis. As Vex's scientists and engineers integrated into the team, Ilara found herself navigating not just the technical challenges of stabilizing the Crucible, but also the delicate politics of keeping former enemies working together toward a common goal. Days blurred into weeks as they raced against time. The planet continued to reshape itself, but slowly, painstakingly, they began to make progress. Combining human ingenuity, luminary wisdom, and the vast resources of nebula explorations, they devised a way to channel the Crucible's energy, using it to accelerate the terraforming process in a controlled manner. It was Ilara who made the final breakthrough. Drawing on everything she had learned from Kane's original research, the luminary's ancient technology, and her own deep understanding of X-273's unique properties, she realized that the key wasn't to fight against the Crucible's power, but to work with it. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," she explained to the assembled team, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. "The Crucible isn't a threat. It's the planet's immune system. It's trying to protect itself from what it perceives as a threat. Us. We need to convince it that we're not invaders, but part of its evolution." The plan was audacious, borderline insane. It involved Ilara and a small team venturing into the heart of the Crucible itself, using a combination of luminary technology and a specially designed neural interface to communicate directly with the planet's ancient core. As Ilara prepared for the dangerous mission, she looked around at the diverse group that had come together to save X-273. Humans, aliens, even former corporate raiders, all united by a common purpose. She realized that in trying to transform the universe's worst planet, they had transformed themselves as well. "Whatever happens," she told them, "remember this moment. Remember what we've achieved by working together." With a final nod to her team, Ilara stepped into the transport that would take her into the heart of X-273's rebirth. The universe's worst planet had become a crucible of cooperation, pushing the boundaries of what was possible when different species and ideologies came together in pursuit of a greater goal. As the transport descended into the pulsing core of the Crucible, Ilara felt a sense of calm settle over her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew that they had already achieved something remarkable. They had turned a cosmic wasteland into a symbol of hope, a testament to the indomitable spirit of life itself. The final test was about to begin, and the fate of X-273, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance. A new dawn. The heart of X-273 pulsed with an otherworldly energy, a swirling vortex of power that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Dr. Ilara Vance stood at its center, her environmental suit barely able to withstand the intense forces surrounding her. The neural interface hummed against her temples, ready to connect her mind directly to the planet's ancient core, the Crucible. Neural link established. Jen's voice crackled through her comm. "Ilara, your vital signs are off the charts. Are you sure about this?" Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. No turning back now. Initiating contact in 3, 2, 1. The world exploded into light and sensation as Ilara's consciousness merged with the Crucible. Millennia of history flooded her mind. The luminary's original seeding of the planet, the cosmic disaster that had nearly destroyed it, and the long, lonely eons of dormancy. But beneath it all, she sensed something else, a spark of awareness, ancient and alien, yet undeniably alive. "Who? What are you?" The thought wasn't word so much as a feeling, a curious probing from the planet itself. Ilara focused her thoughts, projecting images of Earth, of humanity's journey to the stars, and finally of their efforts to transform X-273. "We are explorers, creators. We came to heal, to nurture, to help you become what you were always meant to be." The Crucible's response was a maelstrom of emotion and memory. Ilara saw flashes of the planet's violent past, its struggles to adapt to countless cataclysms. She felt its fear of change, its instinctive resistance to the terraforming efforts it perceived as a threat. You reshape. Destroy. Why? The planet's query was tinged with suspicion and the echoes of past traumas. Ilara's mind raced, searching for a way to convey their intentions. Then, drawing on everything she had learned, she opened herself fully to the Crucible, sharing not just her knowledge but her hopes, her dreams, her vision of what X-273 could become. We reshape to create life, to bring beauty from desolation. We don't seek to destroy you, but to help you evolve, to become more than you ever thought possible. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, there was silence. Then, slowly, Ilara felt the Crucible's awareness shift, its ancient programming adapting to this new paradigm. The violent energies that had threatened to tear the planet apart began to calm, channeling themselves into more constructive patterns. Show me, the planet seemed to say. Show me this future you envision. With a surge of hope, Ilara poured everything she had into the connection. All the plans they had made, all the potential they had seen in this once desolate world. She showed the Crucible visions of thriving ecosystems, of new forms of life uniquely adapted to X-273's transformed environment. She shared the wonder of discovery, the joy of creation, the power of cooperation that had brought humans and Luminary together. And the Crucible responded. Ilara felt the shift deep in her bones as the planet's core realigned itself, embracing its new role not as a passive subject of terraforming, but as an active participant in its own rebirth. Back in Research Station Alpha, the assembled team watched in awe as X-273 began to stabilize. The violent quakes subsided, replaced by a more gentle, purposeful reshaping of the landscape. New life erupted across the planet's surface at an astonishing rate, guided by the Crucible's newly awakened intelligence. It's working, Zixtal trilled, its skin shimmering with excitement. The Crucible is no longer fighting against us. It's working with us. Even Darius Vex, standing at the back of the control room, seemed humbled by the spectacle. I've seen a lot in my time, he murmured, but this is something else entirely. Hours passed as Ilara remained connected to the Crucible, guiding its transformation, learning from its ancient wisdom, and forging a bond between humanity and the living planet that would shape the future of both. When she finally emerged from the core, exhausted but triumphant, she was greeted by cheers and tears of joy from her team. As Ilara looked out at the new world they had helped create, she knew that their work was far from over. X-273, or Terra Nova, as she found herself thinking of it now, was just the beginning. In the months that followed, news of the miraculous transformation spread across the galaxy. Scientists, diplomats, and curious observers from 100 worlds flocked to Terra Nova, eager to witness the planet that had gone from cosmic wasteland to galactic wonder. The Luminary Collective, inspired by the success of the project, opened new channels of communication with humanity. The partnership that had begun with X-273 blossomed into a golden age of cooperative exploration and scientific advancement. Even Nebula Explorations underwent a transformation of its own. Under Darius Vex's surprising new leadership, the corporation pivoted from exploitation to responsible development, using the lessons learned on Terra Nova to rehabilitate other damaged worlds. As for Ilara and her team, they became legends in their own time. The pioneers who had proven that with vision, determination, and cooperation, even the harshest environments could be transformed into cradles of life. Their success sparked a new era of ambitious terraforming projects across the galaxy, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. 5 years to the day after she had first inherited the universe's worst planet, Ilara stood on a hilltop overlooking one of Terra Nova's thriving cities. The sky above was a tapestry of colors, the legacy of the planet's unique atmosphere, while below, Humans and aliens alike went about their lives in harmony with their extraordinary environment. Beside her stood a holographic projection of Dr. Arcturus Kane, her old mentor. She had programmed this message years ago, but had waited for this moment to finally play it. "My dear Elara," Kane's flickering image said, his eyes twinkling with the same mischievous light she remembered. "If you're watching this, then you've done it. You've solved the puzzle I left for you, and in doing so, you've changed the course of human history." Elara felt a lump form in her throat as Kane continued, "I always knew you were destined for greatness, my girl. You had the vision to see potential where others saw only obstacles. X-273 was never a curse. It was an opportunity. An opportunity to prove what humanity is truly capable of when we reach for the stars with open minds and determined hearts." As the message faded, Elara looked out over the vibrant world that had once been a toxic wasteland. She thought of all the challenges they had faced, the alliances they had forged, and the boundaries they had pushed. Terra Nova stood as a testament to the indomitable spirit of life itself. Adaptable, resilient, and ever-evolving. "You were right, old man," Elara whispered to the wind. "It was an opportunity. And this is just the beginning." As the twin suns of Terra Nova set on the horizon, painting the sky in impossible hues, Dr. Elara Vance smiled. The universe's worst planet had become a shining beacon of hope, a symbol of what could be achieved when different species came together in pursuit of a common goal. And somewhere out there, countless other worlds were waiting to be transformed, each with its own unique challenges and hidden wonders. The next great adventure was calling, and Elara was ready to answer. After all, if they could turn a cosmic wasteland into a galactic paradise, what couldn't they achieve? The story of Terra Nova, and of humanity's journey to the stars, was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.